Look, are we going to ignore the fact that the Founding Fathers were incredibly racist? Do you think that they were...
Oh, okay, so you think they were racist.
Of course they were racist.
So then why did they try to abolish slavery?
Where did George Washington get his teeth?
Okay, so how many states decided to make the Northwest Territories...
Answer this question. Answer this question. Where did George Washington get his teeth?
They were blended individuals. No doubt. Mixed. But you know what you and I both have in common?
No, I want to answer the question because I want to make sure that your audience knows
I would
exactly
assume
where
that
George
he probably
Washington got his teeth.
So to make him look bad, you're going to say he got him from a slave or he exploited somebody. But here's the truth about George Washington.
He ripped teeth out of people's heads while they were alive. He ripped teeth out of people's heads.
Here's the truth about George Washington
to put in his mouth.
Outside of your Nicole Hannah-Jones highly emotive argument. Everybody has something in common. We're born into a world we didn't create. And every one of these founding fathers were born into a world where slavery was everywhere. By the time they died, it was on its way out.
Do you know
That's
what
an
Thomas
incredible
Paine said about
moral
slavery?
good.
It wasn't on its way out when they were all dead.
Hold on a second. How many states abolished slavery by the time the Constitution was?
How
How many states abolished slavery by 1787? 9 out of 13. So a majority of states had already abolished it. Northwest Territories.
Why did they structure the Constitution in such a way to give slave states more representation?
Happy to walk through it. Northwest Territories, first act of Congress. Free or slave area? Free. Unanimous. Article 6 of the Northwest Territory. First state to abolish slavery. Vermont, 1777. Inspired by the writings of the Declaration. First anti-slavery convention. 1775. Chaired by Benjamin Franklin.
When is slavery?
George Washington said it's not a question of if. It's a matter of when we abolish slavery. Thomas Jefferson admonished King George in the original draft of the Declaration of Independence,
that means very
saying
little.
that slavery is a great evil that we blame King George for.
He was also very
Thomas
angry.
Jefferson abolished the slave trade into America. Hold on a second.
For telling them they couldn't keep killing indigenous folks.
Thomas Jefferson said very clearly in the Virginia House of Commons in 1790 that we must abolish slavery. He abolished the importation of new slaves as one of his first acts of president in March of 1807. The Founding Fathers fought tooth and nail to abolish slavery. So you have a misrepresentation, an intentional polemical argument to try to misrepresent the great heroes of the Founding Fathers.
When they banned the importation of slaves, what happened?
What ended up happening was the slave trade went down, Eli Whitney creates the cotton gin, and a whole new debate of slavery gets reignited.
No, see, that's actually not true, right? The reality is, do you know what happened? The slave trade, I guess, went down, if you're talking about international trade. The United States set up literal farms where human beings were bred. Human beings were bred and forced
slavery was going down dramatically in the 18 teens.
Slavery.
18 teens, it's going down. 9 out of 13 states that abolished
it. You were just talking about the 1770s, and now all of a sudden we're at the 18 teens.
Guess what?
We just jumped 50 years.
Guess what? Thomas Jefferson was president in 1807. So you got to get your years right, okay, before we talk about this. So he was sworn in March of 1807. He was governor of Virginia in 1790. Wrote the Declaration in 1776.
So when did slavery end in the United States?
Great question. It began to end in 1777, a process of decoupling from an ancestral evil, where we have more people in the world right now that are slaves today than back then. The process began 1820s. The debate reignites because of John C. Calhoun, the creation of the cotton gin. We fight a war over it. We win the war, and slavery is abolished. That's a pretty awesome track record for a country that inherited an evil that every other country prior to it had. It was the West that got rid of slavery. It was William Wilberforce. It was John Edwards. It was George Whitefield. It's easy to kind of do your thing like, well, it's terrible, it's bad. Yes, it's easy to call balls and strikes on a society you didn't create. It's easy to try to lecture the rest of the country, be like, you know, these people are so terrible for something you didn't toil for or sacrifice for. Have an ounce of gratitude for what these people created and the country you get to live in.